the second part, we'll be using trigonometric substitution in integration in calculus. Okay, so let's, we will be, most of these questions are coming from the Philippines and they were asking if we can speak in Taglish. Of course, I know how to speak Tagalog. I'm from Manila, I'm from the Philippines, and of course, I can switch English and Tagalog to English and Tagalog. Okay. So the first, so we're doing, let me share my screen to you first. Just give me a second. Okay. Okay. Does everyone see my screen now? All right. So the first part is factoring trinomials. So the standard format for the polynomial is ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so tonight we will be discussing four methods of factoring trinomials in this form of ax squared plus bx plus c. So the first method, so let's put this as Roman numeral 1. That means this is our first part. And then number 1 will be our box method. Given, let's say, our polynomial is 3x squared minus 2x minus 8. So the first step is to drawing natin yung x. Malaking x natin. And then we will multiply yung ating a times c. So identify muna natin yung ano yung mga a, b, and c natin dito sa given polynomial. So a is 3, which is this one, right? B is negative 2, and then C is negative 8. So, ang una nating ilalagay on top of our X is yung A times C. So, this is 3 times 8 is, so 8, negative 8 times 3 is negative 24. So, we're gonna write negative 24 here. At yung nasa ilalim would be yung middle term, which is negative 2. Okay? So, what will be our next step? Ngayon, mag-iisip tayo ng number, two numbers actually, na kapag minultiply natin will give us negative 24, and when we add them together will give us negative 2. Okay, so yung number na i-multiply natin will give us negative 24, and pag pinag-add sila would give us negative 2, right? So uh, let's have a guess. So we can try negative 6 and 4. So let's try 6 and 4. So negative 6 times 4, right? It, it gives us negative 24. So that satisfies yung una nating kailangan gawin. And then yung second is, pag pinag-add ba sila, lalabas is negative 2. So let's see. Negative 6 plus 4, of course, will give us negative 2. So that satisfies both our requirement. So ang ilalagay natin dito sa left side ng x, yung negative 6, at yung 4 dun sa kanang side. Alright? So now buo na yung x natin. So gawa naman tayo nung ating box. Kasi nga box method, right? So drawing natin yung box. Hatiin natin sa 4. Right? So ang susulat natin dito sa unang box ay yung ating unang term. So yung first term is yung 3x squared. Right? At dito sa last part, sa bottom part ay yung third term, which is negative 8. So yung nakuha nating negative 6, So let's try changing the color of yung pen. So negative 6, lalagay natin dito 6x. At yung 4, lalagay natin dito as 4x. Okay? So, ngayon, sa area, di ba pag kumukuha tayo ng area ng square, ang minumultiply natin yung side. So, kunyari ang side is s, so definitely s to, so ang area niya is s squared. Ngayon, kung ang area natin ay 3x squared, so let's erase this. Kung ang area natin ay 3x squared, so ano bali yung magiging side niya? So in this case, hindi siya square, right? So this would be a rectangle in this case. So this is the area of a rectangle. So dito sa top would be 3x and this would be x. So lagay lang natin siya dito. 3x and x. Kasi pag minultiply mo siya, yung area niya is 3x times x would give us 3x squared, right? Okay. So tignan naman natin ngayon yung ano yung ilalagay natin sa 4x kung ang isang side niya ay x. So x na to. So ano yung multiply natin sa 4x to make it 4x? So 4, right? Kasi yung area niya would be 4 times x would be yung area na 4x. So 4 yung lalagay natin dito. How about dito sa baba? So sinabi natin 3x to, negative 6x to, ang hinahanap natin ay ito. So ang lalabas dapat dyan ay negative 2. Right? Kasi a 3x times negative 2, ang lalabas ay negative 6x. Right? So dito naman sa negative 8, right? So since nilagay natin negative 2, we're sure na dapat ang lalabas pala dito ay negative 8. So 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. So now, nakompleto na natin yung box, right? So ang ibig sabihin, yung factor natin would be itong nasa top part, which is 3x and 4, and itong nasa side. So our factor would be for 3x squared minus 2x minus 8 is equal to 3x plus 4 and x minus 2. Okay? I hope you got this process. So let's move naman dun sa second method. So that's what the first one is box method. So we're moving to another method which is called AC method. So let me just move this. So number 2, we're using the AC method. Actually, parang parehas lamang siya nung first one. So let's try to use the same given. Yung given natin is 3x squared minus 2x minus 8. So again, drawing natin yung x natin. Kaya AC method to kasi nilalagay natin yung AC dito sa top part. So let's make this a little bit bigger. So A times C is negative 24. Ganun din yung ating ilalagay sa ilalim ng x which is negative 2. Right? Tapos, since alam na natin, kunyari nag-isip ulit tayo, anong 2 number kapag binultiply mo will give us negative 24 and kapag inad mo will give us negative 2. So sa first method natin, since we already know it that it's negative 6 and 4, right? So ngayon, susulat natin uli yung ating polynomial. So 3x squared, but this time i-add natin yung negative 6x, which is ito, plus etong nandito, 4x, and then minus 8. Right? So ngayon, yung process ng grouping ay gagamitin natin dito sa method na to. So yung first group natin, ito yung group 1, right? Ito yung group 2. So ano yung common factor natin sa group 1? 3x, di ba? So this would be x minus 2 pag pinactor out natin yung 3x. And then dun sa second group, yung group 2, ang common factor is 4. So mapafactor natin yung 4. So ang matitira sa first term would be x minus 2, right? So makikita natin yung parehas na term, may common factor din siya which is itong x minus 2, di ba? Ito, tsaka ito. So, ibig sabihin, we can factor out yung common factor na x minus 2. So, finactor out natin, ang matitira would be 3x and then plus 4. So, if you notice, yung ating box method has the same answer as our AC method. Pero ginawa natin ng grouping at this part here. May grouping tayong ginamit. Alright? Okay, hope na sundan niyo yung proseso. So it's still the same first part ng ating box method. The only difference is ginamitan natin ng grouping. Group natin yung uh, ating two parts nung four-term polynomial. Alright? So susunod natin ay uh, tinatawag na slide and divide. I forgot the author of this method. I'm sorry, but I would write it in the comment section later. So this is called slide and divide. So gamitin uli natin yung given natin na polynomial, na trinomial. So 3x squared minus 2x minus 8. So sa slide and divide, ano ang una natin gagawin? So kung ano yung nasa A, so i-slide lang natin dito sa negative 8 and mumultiply natin siya dun sa third term. So, ang mangyayari, yung 3, pag in-slide natin and multiply to negative 8, matitira dito would be x squared minus 2x minus 24. Right? So, ngayon, na-slide na natin yung 3. Kaya meron tayong slide doon sa ating method. Because we're sliding 3 papunta dun sa negative 8 to multiply it to that third term. So, meron na tayong x squared minus 2x and minus 24. So ngayon, same thing, we will think of two number na kapag minultiply natin would give us negative 24 and a middle term of negative 2. So let's write two terms and then we know that the first would be x and of course, ang na-identify natin na pag multiply together will give us negative 24 would be negative 6 and 4. And if we add the inners to the outers would give us negative 2x. So ayan. So ngayon, ano yung susunod nating step? So now we form the two terms of of the uh, of our yung ating pagpa-factor out. So kung ano yung sinilide natin, which is yung 3, yun ay gagamitin nating pang-divide sa both constants ng ating two terms. So, ano ba yung pinang-divide natin? 3, di ba? So, let me just change the color. So, itong 3, i-divide natin both constant doon sa two terms ng ating factor. Right? So, as a rule, ipoproceed lang natin yung division kapag divisible siya doon sa number. So yung since yung 6 divided by 3 is divisible, so we proceed with it. So 6 divided by 3 is 2, right? So yung pag hindi siya divisible, katulad nito, 4 divided by 3, hindi siya divisible, ang mangyayari, i-slide back natin siya doon sa variable x. So 3x plus 4, yun yung magiging answer natin for the second term. So if you notice again, the factor is equal to x minus 2, quantity 3x plus 4, which is parehas nung ating answer sa box method, sa AC method, and dito sa slide and divide. Okay? So I hope you got this. So ngayon, punta tayo sa checking. Paano natin i-check kung yung pinactor out natin is the correct factor ng ating trinomial or ng ating polynomial. So let's go to checking. So ito yung sagot natin sa ating factor, x minus 2, and then what's this, 3x plus 4. So ang gagamitin natin is FOIL method. I'm sure maraming nakakaalam sa FOIL method, pero let's try to define ano yung F. So F is yung firsts. So yung first, let's say a different color. So guhitan natin yung, underline natin yung first. And then, and let's change the color also to orange. So yung firsts, yung orange. So that is x times 3x would be 3x squared, right? Next is, let's use the color green. So first, and then the outers. So outers would be your x and your 4, right? So x times 4 is 4x. And then let's use a different color again. Let's use yellow. So yung I would be your inners. Can you still see this? Oops, let's try a different color. So let's try to use it. So inners. So ang inners means itong negative 2 and negative 3. So negative 2 times 3x is negative 6x, right? At yung last would be your lasts. Oh, let's use a different color again. Let's try to use blue. Okay. So lasts would be your negative 2 and 4. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. So anong gagawin natin after we have calculated yung first, yung outers, yung inners, and last? We just add them together. So sum this up. Yung sum natin dyan would be 3x squared. So 4x minus 2x would be negative 2x and negative 8. So we have checked, it reverted back doon sa original nating polynomial. Tama? So this means we got the correct factor for our trinomial. Okay, do you have any question here? So if you have any question, just put in the comment section on our social media accounts, and let's see. Okay, let me give you an exercise. So let's do, for example, so exercise. So 5x squared minus 14x plus 8. Okay, I'll give you 3 minutes or 5 minutes to answer this. Okay. Or maybe less. Okay. Let's see. Let's check muna yung ating, if there are some comments. Okay. So let's use the slide and divide method. Okay. So una is so let's use the slide and divide method. So slide natin yung 8 here. So this would be multiplying 5 to 8. So mangyayari is x squared minus 14x plus 40, right? So anong susunod natin gagawin? We're gonna think of a number that if we multiply together will give us 40, and kapag inad natin together will give us what? Negative 14, right? So what do you think is the number? So let's say 8 and 4 and negative 4 and negative 10, right? So if we multiply together, that's positive 40. And if we add them together, that's negative 14, right? So i-form natin yung ating factor as x minus 10 and x minus 4, right? So ano yung ginamit nating pang slide? Yung 5. So sabi sa rule, kung ano yung ginamit natin for slide would be divided doon sa constants ng ating factor. So let's try to divide both the constants by 5. And sabi sa rule, kapag divisible, then proceed. So yung first part is divisible by 5. So let's proceed dividing it. So x minus 2, right? So x minus 2. Eh yung 4 and 5, hindi siya divisible. So ang mangyayari, we're gonna slide it to 5. So this becomes 5x minus 4. So ito ang factor for our given trinomial x squared, 5x squared minus 14x plus 8. But paano natin i-check? So let's check, right? Let's try checking it. Kung yung sagot nating factor is correct, so let's check it. Checking by again using the FOIL method. So FOIL method, excuse me. So x minus 2 times 5x minus 4. So yung first would be this one here, right? So x times 5x, that is 5x squared. And then yung outers, so x and negative 4. So x times negative 4 would be negative 4x. And then I would be the inner. So yung negative 2 multiplied by 5x. So negative 2 times 5x would be negative 10x, right? And then yung lasts would be the last. So let's use another color. So last is x times negative 4, right? So x times negative 4 would be negative 4x. So the next thing we need to do is to sum it up, right? So add lang natin siya together. And we will have 5x squared minus 14x kasi negative 4x and negative 10x would be negative 14x, and the last Oops. What's the last? Sorry, negative 2 to. This is negative 2. So this is negative 8. This is negative 8. All right? So, and this is negative 8 here. So, bumalik pa rin siya dun. It reverted back dun sa original equation natin or original polynomial natin, which is 5x squared minus 14x plus 8. Plus 8, sorry. Plus 8, plus 8. So, because negative times negative is positive. So, ito pa rin yung ating sagot. Okay? Okay, if you have questions, you can type in at the comment section of our social media accounts in Facebook, Twitter, and also in our Instagram account at Math Agility. Okay? So again, we have three methods used. So the first method is box method. And then the second one is AC method. And the third one is the slide and divide. So slide and divide, right? So it's up to you which one do you want to use for this. Is it the box method, AC method, slide and divide? So you can use either of the three kung saan kayo komportable gamitin yung pagpa-factor ng trinomial. Okay? So let's move now to the next topic. So the next one is, this is called trigonometric substitution, and these are one of the top techniques, not topic, but techniques of integration in calculus. So uh, I got a lot of questions about this, and so may mga most of the questions are also coming from the Philippines. May mga questions din here in the US. So magta-Taglish pa rin tayo kasi most of them wanted me to explain it uh, in the Filipino language. So we will use Taglish for this. So ang importante is when we see our integral, itong table na to would be important for us to use a trigonometric substitution. So pag nakita natin yung expression it's a radical, ibig sabihin meron siyang square root symbol, right? So teka, lakihan na natin to. So kapag may nakita tayong a squared minus x squared, so a yung constant, x yung ating variable, ang substitution natin gagawin is x minus a sine theta. And yung identity natin gagamitin would be 1 minus sine theta cosine 1 minus sine squared theta equals cosine squared theta. Ngayon kapag nakita natin yung expression is yung second one, so the first one, second one is square root of a squared plus x squared, meaning yung a squared yung constant and then yung x squared yung variable. We will use the substitution x equals a tangent theta. And then yung identity natin gagamitin, yung ating Pythagorean identity, 1 plus tangent squared theta equals secant squared theta. And then yung last type, so kapag nakita nating merong square root of x squared minus a squared, ang ating gagamitin is yung x equals a secant theta, and then yung identity or yung ating call this Pythagorean identity is similar to the identity we used earlier, which is this one here. We just move the constant one to the right side, right? Okay, so let's go for an example. Let's see. So the first example. Okay, let's go to the next page. Okay, so Our example is evaluate square root of 9 minus x squared divided by x squared dx. So, evaluate this integral. So, makita natin, yung expression na may radical sign would be your 9 minus x squared. So, we can easily identify that we will use the expression, the first expression, right? This one. Kasi yung a squared ay yung ating 9, right? And of course, yung x squared, yung ating x squared, right? So, basically, yan yung ating gagamitin. So, your substitution would be so a squared equals 9. So, a is 3, right? At sinabi dito, we will use a substitution x equals a sine theta. Since a is 3, so x would be equal to 3 sine theta, right? Okay, so, and then, next step is let's take the derivative of sine theta. So, what's the derivative of sine theta? So, derivative of sine theta is dx equals 3 cosine of theta d theta, right? So, once we already identified this, let's substitute that in our integral, okay? In the integral expression that we have. So, oops. So, let's try to write it here. So, integral of 9 square root of 9 minus x squared over x squared dx. So, yung 9 natin, yung x natin would be 9 sine squared theta, right? At yung x squared would be 9 sine squared theta. And yung dx would be 3 cosine d theta. So, times 3 cosine theta d theta. So, lahat ng ating nasa integran are all in theta now, right? So, yung isang ating gagawing transformation, sabi doon, we can use the identity. This one here, yung notes identity. We can use 1 minus sine squared theta cosine theta. So, makikita natin doon sa loob ng radical sign, doon sa square root, we can factor out yung 9, right? At ang matitira doon sa loob would be, so, factor out yung 9. So, lalabas natin, magiging 3 siya kasi nasa square root. So, this one would be 1 minus sine squared theta over 9 sine squared theta 3 cosine theta d theta, right? So, yung 1 minus sine squared theta, according to our Pythagorean identity, is equal to cosine squared theta, right? So, again, this could be simplified. So, magiging 3 na lang sa ilalim. Sine squared theta. So, square root of cosine squared theta. 3 cosine theta d theta, right? So, kunin natin yung square root ng cosine squared. Yung first cosine squared, magiging cosine theta lang siya, di ba? So, this is equal to cosine, oops, and we still have a 3 here. So, malawala lang yung 3, right? And magiging cosine theta multiplied by cosine theta. So, magiging cosine squared theta and sine squared theta. Okay. So, nandiyan na tayo sa step na yan. This is also another identity which is equal to a ratio identity of cotangent, right? So, this could be again transformed to cotangent squared theta d theta. Kasi ano ba yung cotangent theta natin? Cotangent theta is actually equal to cosine of theta sine of theta. This is called a ratio identity dun sa ating trigonometry if you have that subject. Okay, so now we reduced our integrand to a single trigonometric function, which is cotangent squared. So if you look at the table of trigonometric identities, right? Uh, we we can still further call this use the identity cosine, the Pythagorean identity cosine squared, not cosine, cosecant squared theta plus minus 1 is cotangent squared theta, right? So let's try to use this identity, another identity, to transform our integral equation. So this now equal to the integral of cosecant squared theta minus 1, of course, d theta pa rin, right? So if you look at the table of, if you have one, yung mga integral natin of all the trigonometric function, we can see that cosecant squared theta is readily available doon sa integration table. So that's why I converted to cosecant squared instead of trying to integrate yung cotangent squared. So based sa table, yung ating cosecant squared theta has an equivalent integral of negative cotangent of theta. So negative cotangent of theta. And of course, yung negative 1 would have a theta and then plus c. Right? So andyan na tayo sa step na yan. So are we done? Not yet. So that's just part of converting it into trigonometric substitution. So now we're gonna relate everything in a triangle. So if you remember your right triangle, so we initially said that our theta, what is it again? Our x is equal to 3 sine theta, right? So our x is equal to 3 sine theta. So our sine theta is equal to x over 3, right? So do you remember your SOHCAHTOA? So SOHCAHTOA. So our S means this is sine, right? This is opposite, and this is hypotenuse. And then yung cosine, this means adjacent, and then hypotenuse. And then yung ating tangent is your T, tan. Yung O, yung opposite. And then yung A, yung adjacent. So meaning sine is opposite over hypotenuse. And then yung cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Yung tangent is opposite over adjacent. So ibig sabihin, dito sa ating equation is, or yung relation ng sine theta, this is your opposite over hypotenuse. So meaning our opposite is 3 and hypotenuse is, opposite is x, sorry. Our opposite is x and our hypotenuse is 3, right? So based on that relation, we can draw the triangle. To be specific, a right triangle. So here is a right triangle. So our theta is here. And our sign says our opposite is x. So this is your x. And your hypotenuse is 3, right? So how do we solve the third side? So by Pythagorean theorem, this would be equal to 9 minus x squared, right? So it's basically square of this minus square of this, and then get the square root of the difference, right? So we get the third side. So if we go back Yung ating answer is still in theta format. So they're all in terms of theta. So what is cotangent theta? Right? So makikita natin yung tangent theta is actually 1 over, where's that? Tangent theta is 1 over cotangent theta. Yes, cotangent theta. So based dito sa drawing, what is our tangent theta? So our tangent theta is actually equal to opposite over adjacent. So ano ba yung opposite over adjacent natin? So x over square root of 9 minus x squared, right? So ito yung tangent theta natin. So to get the inverse of tangent theta is cotangent theta. So therefore our cotangent theta is kabaliktaran lang niya. Yung inverse niya is 9 minus x squared over x. So now we have the value of cotangent theta. So sabi natin our answer is negative cotangent theta minus theta plus c. So we have reverted back to original variable. So negative 9 minus x squared over x. But what is theta? So paano natin aalisin yung theta dito sa second term and put it back into our original variable, which is theta. So since we have sine theta, we will get the inverse of sine theta, right? So we have sine theta equals x over 3. So the inverse of that would be sine inverse or arc sine x over 3. So basically that's is equivalent to sine theta. So arc sine of x over 3 plus c. So ito na yung final answer natin for integral. All right. So I hope you get how we derive how we started with the trigonometric substitution. We first identify kung ano expression yung nandun sa integrand, and then we try to use what substitution is related to that expression, and then we use the identity also as mentioned dun sa table, right? So let me show you again the table. So yung first table yung ginamit sa table, yung first expression yung ginamit natin since yun yung related dun sa integral natin, which is the 9 minus x squared, and then we use the substitution x equals sine theta, and then yung identity 1 minus sine squared theta equals cosine squared theta yung ginamit natin dito sa ating integral. All right. So let's move to another example. Okay, let's go to example number 2. Okay, example number 2 is, so it says here, find integral of 1 over x squared times the square root of x squared plus 4 dx. So if you look at the table, ano yung expression na meron yung ating integral equation? Yung number 2, di ba? So this fits our purpose doon sa ating x squared plus 4 doon sa loob ng radical sign. So actually our a squared here in this case is 4, right? So a is 4. So ang gagamitin natin is x equals a tangent theta. So x equal, oh sorry, this is 2. Square root of 4 is 2. So this would be x equals 2 and then tangent theta. So what is the derivative of tangent theta? So that's secant theta tangent theta, right? So when we get the integral of secant theta tangent theta, of tangent theta, that's secant theta tangent theta. Derivative. Sorry, I'm talking about the derivative. Derivative of tangent theta is secant theta secant square theta. So sorry. Dx is 2 secant squared theta d theta, right? I was saying kanina, we're gonna get yung derivative ng x, which is dx equals 2 secant squared theta d theta. So all right, so we can transform now yung ating integral to this. So let's write again. So 1 over x squared plus 4 is equal to, so 1 over x squared, so this become 4 tangent squared theta, and then 4 tangent squared theta plus 4, and then our dx is 2. Oh, sorry, the dx is here, so 2 secant squared theta d theta, right? So if you notice, again sa radical sign, we can factor out yung 4, and then tangent squared theta plus 1 is yung ating Pythagorean identity here. This one here, which is equivalent to secant squared. So let's do it. So 1. So this becomes 2 because 1 times 2 secant squared. And we have a 4 here, so this cancels out. This will be 2. So on our numerator, secant squared theta d theta. And there's a 2 here, tangent squared theta. And then we can factor out the 4, so 2. And then inside the radical sign is tangent squared theta plus 1. Right? And then we notice yung Pythagorean identity, this is secant squared theta. So again, we can simplify this. So we have secant squared theta d theta. We can combine the 2, which is 4, and then tangent squared theta, and this is secant theta. Right? Based on the Pythagorean identity here, 1 plus tangent squared theta is equal to secant squared theta. Okay? So, what is the next step? Anong gagawin natin? So, we can cancel out stuff here, right? So, yung una would be your secant. Cancel. Yan yung favorite natin eh, di ba? Canceling out. Even sa mga fraction. So, we can simplify terms. So, matitira na lang sa numerator is yung secant theta, d theta, and then yung 4 tangent squared theta dun sa denominator. So, we can still use some ratio identity here, right? Remember that secant theta is 1 over cosine theta, right? And tangent theta is sine theta over cosine theta, right? Sine theta over cosine theta. Okay, so let's try to use that identity here. So 1 over cosine theta per second. So ito yung 4, and then yung tangent. So since nasa ilalim siya and it's a square, so magiging sine squared lang to and cosine squared on top, right? D theta. So we can cancel out cosine. And what is left is isang cosine at isang sine squared. So this is integral of 1 over 4 cosine of theta d theta and sine squared theta. Ano pa ba ang pwede natin gawin dyan? Okay, I think we can use substitution here. Excuse me. So if we let u equals to sine theta, so let u equal sine theta and du, right, is equal to cosine theta d theta, right? So if you can see yung u is whatever is in our denominator. So yung 1/4 still remain there. So we can take it out of our integral. And then yung cosine theta d theta is sabi niya is du. And yung sine squared theta is u squared. Right? So meaning this is just a integration of power, right? So we can bring up, so 1/4 u negative 2 du, right? So we can integrate this. So 1/4 times u to the negative 2 plus 1 over negative 2 plus 1, right? And then, which is plus c. So negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. So we have a negative 1/4. And then u to the negative 2 plus 1 is u to the negative 1. So let's put u here below. And then that's plus c. So, right? So negative 1 for u plus c. And let's revert back to the original value of u, which is sine theta. So essentially, this is 1 over 4 sine theta plus c. So are we done yet? Hindi pa, di ba? Kasi we still have the sine theta. Ang original nating variable is our x. Again, ang gagawin natin, so yung what did we use first dun sa x natin? Let's go back. X equals 2 tangent theta, di ba? So x, let's write it here as a reference. So x equals 2 tangent theta, right? So tangent theta is actually equal to x over 2. And again, SOHCAHTOA. Ano yung sabi sa SOHCAHTOA? SOHCAHTOA. Our tangent is actually our opposite over our adjacent. So this means this is opposite and this is adjacent. So let's try to draw yung ating right triangle. So andito yung 90 degrees, andito yung theta. So sabi niya yung opposite is x and our adjacent is 2. So para ma-calculate natin yung hypotenuse or yung third side, that would be x squared plus 4, right? X squared plus 4. Correct? Okay. So what we're trying to look for is sine, but hold on. So we can actually, this is still, we can put negative 1/4 since sine theta is actually 1 over cosecant of theta. So we can put it up here. So cosecant of theta plus c, right? So ito yung ating relation. So if we say our sine theta based on this is so natin opposite x over hypotenuse x squared plus 4. So yung cosecant theta natin would be the inverse of this. So x squared plus 4 over x. So since we simplified yung ating final answer, so let's write it here, negative 1/4 cosecant of theta plus c. So since yung cosecant theta natin is that one, so negative 1/4 x squared plus, what's that again? Plus 4 over x plus c. So this would be our final answer. Since na-revert na natin dun sa original variable yung ating answer. We already eliminated all the thetas, right? And we are only having x in our answer. Okay. So if you have any questions, again, write down at the comment section of our social media accounts at Math Agility. All right, so this is example number 2. Let's move to example number 3. Okay, so this is example number 3. This time, look at the expression in our integral. So it says there, the first is the variable x and our constant is negative. So ang gagamitin natin is itong third expression, right? So x squared minus a squared, yun yung nakita natin dun sa integral. So ang gagamitin natin will be what? Itong relationship na x is a second theta. So definitely our a squared is 9. So a is 3, right? So kung ang x natin is a second theta, this will be 3 second of theta, right? And then what's the derivative of this? So let's try to get the derivative of um, second theta. So derivative, is 3 second theta tangent theta d theta, right? So now we're ready to um, transform our integral to trigonometric substitution. So let's do substitution. So let's write it on the side. So this is, so our dx is this one. So 3 secant of theta tangent of theta d theta, right? Tapos yung x squared would be square nito, which is 9 secant squared of theta. And then yung nasa loob ng radical sign, again, we're repeating yung 9 secant squared of theta minus 9, right? So ngayon lahat ay nasa d theta na. So ano yung next step natin? What is our next step? So transform natin yung nasa radical sign. Let's take out the radical sign. Ito yung magiging guide natin, yung Pythagorean identity, which is secant squared theta minus 1 is equal to tangent squared theta. So let's factor out 9 from the equation. So this actually cancels out to 3, right? And 1 second dito. So ang matitira sa taas is tangent theta d theta. So may 3 ka dito, and then there's 1 second theta. And then factor out natin yung 3. So, and this would become secant squared theta minus 1, right? Okay, so ano yung secant squared theta minus 1? Yun yung nakita nating Pythagorean identity in the table, which is equal to tangent squared theta. Right, so let's write it here. Tangent theta d theta. So combine natin yung dalawang 3, which is 9 secant theta. Etong lalabas is tangent theta na lang. Because of the square root, mawawala na yung square doon sa tangent. And ang maganda dyan, ano yung paborito natin sa math? We're canceling out. So, yay! So, we canceled out yung tangent. D theta na lang natitira, and then 9 over secant theta. So, ano yung identity that relates to secant theta? Diba, ito'y equal sa secant theta. Yung identity is 1 over cosine theta, right? So, mangyayari, yung secant theta natin will become cosine na lang siya dun sa integral equation. So, cosine theta over 9 d theta, right? So, ano na yung mabilis na lang natin siya ma-integrate, di ba? Kasi ano na siya cosine na lang siya. So, integral of cosine theta is sine theta, right? So, 1 over 9 sine of theta plus c, right? Okay? So, are we done yet? So, pag tinanong ko yun, ibig sabihin hindi pa. So, ano yung relation na ginamit natin kanina? It's x equals, is it 3? 3 secant theta, right? X equals 3 secant of theta. So, meaning our secant theta is x over 3. So, let's draw again yung ating right triangle. So, this is theta. And secant theta is actually the inverse of cosine theta. So, cosine theta is 3 over x, right? The inversion ng secant theta. So, again, our SOHCAHTOA. This is important, right? So, cosine meaning adjacent over hypotenuse. So, sa triangle, yung adjacent natin sa theta is 3 at yung hypotenuse natin is x, right? And how do we solve for the third side? Pythagorean theorem, right? So, this would become square root of x squared minus 9. So, ibig sabihin, yung ating sine theta, which is opposite over hypotenuse, yama, dun sa answer natin yan should be x squared minus 9 over x. So, substitute natin dun sa answer natin. So, 1 over 9, excuse me, square root of x squared minus 9 over x plus c. So, since we reverted back to our original variable x, so ito na yung final answer natin. Oops. This will be our final answer. Okay? Sige. So, if you have questions, you can write it down at the comment section of our social media in Facebook, in Twitter, and also in our Instagram accounts. Okay, so last but not the least. So let's go to number 4. Okay, this time, yung given natin is somehow related yung sa first part. We're gonna complete the square to be able to transform it in such a way we can relate it into our expression dito sa table na to, right? So let's complete the square first. So x squared, why do we bakit nga pala natin i-complete sa square? Because nakita natin yung x squared, yung polynomial na x squared minus 6x, yung quadratic natin is not a perfect square trinomial, right? So we cannot factor it out na na gusto natin. So the best way to do is completing the square. So to complete the square, so if you remember this formula, so your b is your negative 6 and then 2 and your a is 1, right? There's an invisible 1 and then let's square it. So negative 6 over 2 is negative 3 and then square, that is 9. So meaning, ita-transform natin yung polynomial na may kasamang 9 para makuha natin yung perfect square trinomial. So x squared, oops, x squared minus 6x, right? So x squared minus 6x plus 9. Since it should be 11, so dapat may plus 2, right? So now we can, the first three terms is a perfect square trinomial. So here. So this will be equal to x minus 3 squared plus 2. Right? So, ibig sabihin, pag pinag-expand mo itong nasa loob ng parentheses, this will give you this first three terms ng ating polynomial. So, x squared, 9, and then negative 6x. So, yun muna yung naging first step natin kasi we wanted to relate yung ating integral, yung expression natin sa loob ng integral to the one in the table. So, now, we can rewrite it into dx equals, what's that again? X minus 3, sorry. X minus 3 squared plus 2, right? So, ang lumalabas, yung ating variable would be x minus 3 squared, and then yung constant natin, a squared, is 2. So, ito yung gagamitin na natin, yung second expression, right? Because this is a plus. So, let a equals a squared, sorry, is equal to 2. So, a would be square root of 2. And then, x equals a tangent theta. So, x equals square root of 2 tangent of theta, right? And then, what is du, or what is dx? So, dx would be, oh, there's a square. Okay. Hold on. Yeah, there's a square. Sorry. So, this is a square here. So, dx would be square root of 2 second squared of theta d theta, right? And then, of course, our u, ito yon, u squared plus a squared, or ito yung x squared, yun yung variable natin. Now we can turn it into the trigonometric substitution that we have. So dx is square root of 2 second squared of theta, right? D theta. And then yung nasa ilalim natin, which is tong a squared would be equal to u squared plus 2 squared would be 4 second to the 4th theta, right? Yes. So square root of u squared plus 2 would be square root of 2. So let's try to manipulate. Okay, let's see. Yung u squared natin is actually u squared of, so 2 tangent squared of theta, and then plus 2, right? And this is equal to yung Pythagorean identity natin, which is second squared, right? So this is equal to square root of 2. We're taking out the 2 and then meron pa siyang tangent squared may theta plus 1. So that's equivalent to second theta, right? So since we're using square root for this, mm, this means yung is second squared, tama? Times squared would be second. So so this would be 2. Kung u squared plus 2 lang, would be 2 second squared theta. And since yung nasa ilalim natin ay may square pa siya, so u squared plus 2 squared would mean this is 4 second to the fourth theta, right? So, yan yung nandito sa ilalim. 4 second to the fourth theta. Alright? So, in-start lang natin to a square root yung ilalim, yung denominator, and we form it into our trigonometric substitution, which is yung final answer natin on the denominator part is 4 second to the fourth theta. Okay? So, na-transform na natin siya into trigonometric function. So, let's see ano yung pwede pa nating ma-simplify. So, we can simplify. Yes, may maka-cancel tayo, right? Mhm. So, this is canceled. So, square root of 2 over 4, 1 over second squared of theta, d theta, right? So, what else we can... So, ano ba ang 1 over second squared? That is equal to cosine squared, right? So, square root of 2 over 4 integral of cosine squared theta d theta, right? Kasi yung trigonometric identity natin, remember, is second theta is actually equal to 1 over cosine theta, right? So we just use it here to transform it into cosine squared theta. Pero we have, again, another identity for cosine squared theta. See, a third, not the identity, but integration table for cosine squared theta. So we don't do several steps before we get the final answer. So cosine squared theta, integral of cosine squared theta, d theta. So let's see, 2 to the fourth is equal to, base dito sa ating table, is 1/4. So 1/2 of theta plus 1/4 of sine 2 theta plus c, right? And what is actually uh, equivalent of sine 2 theta sa trigonometry natin? Sine 2 theta is the double angle formula is let's see here. What's our double angle formula? Is it 2 cosine theta? Just give me a second. Yes, so 2 sine theta cosine theta. So our sine 2 theta is actually equal to 2 sine theta cosine theta. So this double argument becomes single argument here. So this is another trigonometric identity, double angle identities actually, 2 sine theta cosine theta. So let's substitute it in the equation. So square root of 2 over 4, 1 half theta plus 1/4 2 sine theta cosine theta plus c, right? So let's try to distribute. Actually, yung c would be out here. Distribute natin yung ating nasa labas na constant. So this would be square root of 2 over 8 theta plus square root of 2 over 2, right? So 2 na lang to, sine theta cosine theta plus c. Right? I think we can rationalize yung square root natin for both the first term and the second term of our answer. So before we go transforming it into the variable, to the original variable x, let's try to rationalize it. So let's multiply the numerator and denominator by square root of 2, right? So this would mean 2, 8 square root of 2 theta, and then 2 over 2 square root of 2 sine theta cosine of theta plus c. So this means this is 4. This means this is 1 canceled out. So our favorite part in math is to cancel out stuff. So this means this is theta over 4 square root of 2 plus 1 over square root of 2 sine theta cosine theta plus c. All right. So we're not yet done. So ano yung original nating relationship between x and theta? So we said that is equivalent to x, ito. X equals square root of 2 tangent theta. So let's try to write it down here. So x equals square root of 2 tangent theta, right? So our tangent theta is actually equal to x over square root of 2. So balik tayo kay Sokatowa. Ano sabi natin kay Sokatowa? Sokatowa. And let's draw a right triangle here. Ito yung theta natin. So pag tangent daw is opposite over adjacent. So meaning your opposite is x and your adjacent is square root of 2, right? So because of TOA, Sokatowa. So paano natin isosolve yung third side? Again, by Pythagorean theorem. So that is x squared plus 2, right? Since this is square root of 2, square root of 2 is 2, right? So and x squared, square root of x is x squared. Okay? So the third side is equal to square root of x squared plus 2. So how can we solve sine squared? Sine theta then would be based on this triangle. So katowa. So is opposite over hypotenuse. So our opposite is x, right? This, and the hypotenuse is x squared plus 2. How about, so we already transform our sine to our original variable. How about cosine? So our cosine is, so based on Sokatowa, this is adjacent over hypotenuse, right? And our theta is here, so adjacent would be square root of 2. Of course, hypotenuse would be x squared plus 2, right? How about our theta? Since we have a variable theta in our answer, so this would be coming from here, right? So get the inverse of tangent. So arc tangent of or tangent inverse of x over square root of 2. So, okay, let's transform our answer to our original variable. So, this would be 1 over 4 square root of 2 arctangent of x square root of 2, right? What else? And then 1 over square root of 2 plus 1 over square root of 2 sine theta is x over x square root of 2 plus 2, and then our cosine square root of 2 over square root of x squared plus 2, and then plus c, right? So let's see if we can simplify stuff. Of course, we want to cancel stuff. So that's our favorite part of mathematics, canceling out. So this would be canceled out. And this can be combined, right? Eradicating or eliminating a radical sign. So what else? And that's it. So 1 over 4 square root of 2 arctangent of x over square root of 2 plus x over x squared plus 2, because we're combining two radical sign with the same variable and terms inside. So the radical sign is eliminated plus c. So this would be our final answer. All right. So if you have any questions, or I missed something out, you can type your comments or your questions in our social media accounts in Facebook, in Twitter, and in our Instagram accounts. So let's try to summarize. So I think that's the last example. So that's yeah, example number 4. So let's try to summarize what we did. First, what are our steps using the trigonometric substitution? So una nating ginawa ay in-identify natin yung expression kung saan siya papasok doon sa table, right? Identify which expression we need to use for the substitution. And then, step 2, we do the substitution, right? So we substitute to eliminate yung radical sign, the square root, right? Square root in the expression, right? And then what's the third step we do? So third is we evaluate the trigonometric integral. So after we substitute, we evaluate it. If we can simplify some stuff in our trigonometric function, trigonometric integral, then we did that in this step 3. And last part, number 4, is we converted back to our original variable, right? After we evaluate it, we do the integration, we use a lot of trigonometric identities relating some trigonometric functions to be able to simplify it. So that's step 3, and then we go to step 4, so we convert it back to the original variable. And that's it. So first, let's read what we write. So first is we identify which oops, I forgot the word expression. So we identify which expression we need to use for the substitution. And then 2, we substitute to eliminate the square root in the expression. Number 3, we evaluate the trigonometric integral. And number 4, we convert back to the original variable. Okay, so I think that's it for now. If you have any questions, again, you can write your questions or your comments at our social media accounts, and we will answer them as soon as possible. Okay, there you go. So thank you for watching us today at Math Agility Live. To all our followers who sent in their questions from Thursday to Sunday, Friday to Monday in Manila, we will be solving them via Facebook Live next Tuesday. It's Wednesday in Manila. So I hope you learned something from me today and hope you jotted down some notes while I'm solving. So see you next week. God bless everyone and stay safe.